Welcome back to another episode of Inside Richmond, the City's Pulse. I'm Lindsay Darnell, your host, and today we are going to be talking about a significant and tragic event that happened in our history, the city of Richmond, April 6, 1968, the explosions that happened downtown. I have joining us a survivor from that explosion, Jack Bales. Jack and Mayor Ron Oler. Guys, thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So we really wanted to get you on here, Jack. We just had the 58th anniversary of the explosion on April 6th that happened here in downtown Richmond. You are a sole survivor, and so I want to ask you some questions. I want to hear your story about the events that happened that day. Let's talk about first, what was your life like in Richmond in 1968?
Well, downtown Richmond was, I grew up during the glory days of downtown Richmond. And everything revolved around downtown Richmond. The whole county, that's where we came for clothes, shoes, entertainment, bakery, you name it. And it was always just jam-packed. Sidewalks were packed with people, and it was just an exciting time to come to downtown Richmond.
And how old were you in 1968 when the explosions happened?
I was 18.
18. Mm-hmm. So you are the sole survivor from that area where the explosions happened, correct, on the 600 block of Main Street?
Yes, I was actually inside Marting's when the first explosion went off.
Okay, Marting Arms.
Mm-hmm.
So what brought you down to Main Street that day?
My best friend that I grew up with, we'd been friends. We played Little League together and just were so close. He was 2 years older than I was, and he was at Purdue, actually just been accepted into pre-vet at Purdue, and was on the archery team. And he needed some new arrows, and we had been down here 2 weeks prior when he was home from Lafayette, and we had to order the arrows. They didn't have the particular type that he needed. And on Thursday, before the explosion on Saturday, they had called Greg and told him the arrows were in. And so he got home late Friday night from Purdue and called me and said, "You want to run into town Saturday morning?" I said, "Sure," because every time he came home, we were always together. Or if I could get away, I'd go to Lafayette and stay the weekend. And so we came downtown to pick up the arrows.
So you were inside Marting Arms when the explosions happened. Can you kind of walk us through what happened? When did you kind of come to and realize what was going on? What was going through your head?
We had parked down on South 6th Street, just south of Marting Arms, and walked up the sidewalk. And, it was a nice sunny day. It was a little cool. And we were just talking. We walked up, came into Marting's, looked around, didn't see any clerks, didn't see Don. And we may have been in there maybe just a minute when the first explosion went off from across the street from Vigran's. And it blew the windows in on us. Everything, all types of debris was blowing in on us. And I remember covering up back of my head because we were just getting pelted with glass and pieces of brick. And at first, I thought it was a sonic boom. Right at that time, there was a lot of sonic booms. The jets were breaking the sound barrier, and that's what I thought it was, and it was just boom, boom. It wasn't a second or two in between when the second one went off right underneath us. I remember seeing Greg in my peripheral vision fall to the floor, and then all of a sudden it just was black. And when I came to, I was on top of all the debris from the two-story building. Now, we were on the ground floor. somehow I ended up on the top of all the debris, probably 14, 15 feet in the air.
Wow.
I had a wooden beam out of the ceiling across me, and it was just burning everywhere. Fire was all around. The brick dust was so thick you couldn't breathe. And I tried to get out from under everything, and I couldn't move my arms. Found out later my collarbones were broken. So I pushed out with my feet, got out from under, stood up, and walked down off all the debris down to the sidewalk on 6th Street. And, it looked like a war zone. It looked like something you would see in Ukraine today on TV. Mm-hmm. Cars turned over, pieces and parts of cars, to where the flash from the second explosion was so yellow and so bright and so hot. It's just stripped the paint right off the cars. What metal I saw was just bare metal, right down to the shiny bare metal. Anyway, I walked down, just down south on 6th Street, just a ways, and 2 gentlemen from Wayne Dairy came up and got hold of me, one on each arm, and helped me to the alley. And one of them said, "You've got an arrow in your back." He said, "Just hold on just a minute and I'll pull it out." He says, "Now this may hurt a little bit." Well, it did. It hurt a lot. It hurt more than a little bit. So he pulled it out. Then they set me down, leaned up kind of against some debris there in the alley. And stuff was still falling out of the ceiling or out of the sky. Ammunition was going off, just binging off all the structures and what was left of the buildings. And then actually one of the girls I went to school with had walked up from South 6th and recognized me. And she sat there with me for just a minute. And then the 2 guys from Wayne Dairy, who I happened to know previously, helped me down the alley to the east to 7th Street and flagged a car and put me in the car and told him to take me to Reed. We did, and he helped me in the emergency room. And there was, I can't tell you how many people already there. And I know it says 150 injured, but I don't think that covers a third. I saw that many just a few minutes after the explosion. But anyway, finally became my turn to come into the emergency room. I went in. I had on a lightweight Western waistcoat, and they took it off, and I had on a long-sleeve Western shirt, and all that was left was about 3/4 of the sleeves. The shirt was gone, where the flash from the gunpowder went up under my coat and had just taken my shirt clear off. I was bleeding from both ears. Found out later both eardrums were broken. So they kind of wiped the blood up and some of the cuts and scratches, and they looked at the place in my back where the arrow was. And they kind of pushed it together, put a piece of gauze and some athletic tape on it, told me to go home and lay in bed a couple of weeks. I'd be fine, that there was people hurt a lot worse than I was. So they helped me back on with my coat, stuck a hand in each pocket, and turned me out. Well, I couldn't even, when I got to the payphone there in the emergency room before you exited out of the old Reed, I couldn't dial the payphone. I couldn't get my hands out of the pockets to get the quarter to get the, a girl I went to school with that actually graduated with Greg, was a nurse. And they had called her in, and she called my folks and had them come get me and help me outside. I got outside and I kind of leaned up against the first car I came to, and I was getting pretty weak, and I'm sure shock was setting in. So I kind of crawled up on this hood of this next car, and I remember it was an old white Oldsmobile, had great big fins down the front fenders. And my mom and dad told me later, said when they pulled in the parking lot, said it was just pure chaos. And they didn't have any idea how they'd ever find me. So they started driving up down the rows of cars. And finally, my dad said he told my mom, he said, there's Jack right there laying on that car. So they stopped, got me in the car. Well, my dad said that I was bleeding so bad that the blood was running down off the hood and onto the ground. And they got me in the car and decided that Winchester was the closest hospital. So they took me to Winchester. And we got up there, and they took my jacket off, and so they started with my back where the arrow was, and they thought I'd been shot because when they pulled the arrow out, it just kind of rolled the flesh out like a gun wound, like a gunshot. And I kept telling them, no, it was an arrow, and so the doctor was real concerned about that. Well, eventually they believed me. They took x-rays, didn't see any bullet, stitched that up. They took a lot of x-rays. And all the time between the x-rays, I had two nurses with tweezers and that type of instruments, pulling plate glass window out the back of my legs, out the back of my neck and my back. That went on for about 4 hours. And to this day, plate glass window still works out of my back and my legs.
Wow.
I get a place that looks like a boil, and a piece of plate glass window will come out of it. It'll be encapsulated in kind of a white fatty tissue, but there was just so much plate glass window. But anyway, they determined that all of my ribs were either broken or cracked. Both eardrums were broken. Both collarbones were broken or cracked. And I had second-degree burns from the flash from the gunpowder that ran up under my jacket. So they bandaged that, those wounds. There wasn't anything they could do for my eardrums. They were real concerned that, it wasn't going to cause any additional injuries, brain swelling or any of that. And I actually was in Winchester in the hospital for 5.5 days, and then I checked myself out, and I went to Greg's funeral in Economy. But it was a long process. I came home. It was about 5.5, 6 weeks before everything healed enough I could go back to work. I went back to work one day, and the pain in my right leg was so bad I just couldn't stand it. So I went to another doctor, and he got out his little hammer, tapped my left leg, and tapped my knee, and there was reflex there. The right leg, there was no reflex. He took a little needle and stuck my thigh and up in my hip and made it bleed, and I couldn't feel a thing. He had me transported back out to Reed immediately by ambulance. And at Winchester, they'd failed to x-ray my lower back, and I had several vertebrae, two that were broken clear and two that was pushing against my spine. And then I had several others that were cracked. So he said, if you have the patience to lay in traction for a length of time, he says, I think I can fix it without surgery. And I said, well, whatever it needs. So they put a collar on each ankle, put 25 pounds on a rope and up over a pulley, and kind of spread my legs out like that and over a pulley that way and that way. Put a collar around my neck and 25 pounds up over the bed to the back. And I laid 16 weeks like that.
Oh my goodness.
So every 4 weeks, they would take all that apart, take me to x-ray. The first 4 weeks, the two vertebrae that were completely broken went back together, and you could see a white stripe around them where they were knitting. And at the end of 16 weeks, they were completely healed or fused together. I wouldn't say completely healed. The doctor had a back brace made, a spatial back brace that had a shelf that my chin sat in, so I couldn't turn, I couldn't move. And I wore that for almost a year. And he also said, you have so many injuries to your back, it's so twisted, so broken. He said, I don't want to, discourage you, but he said, I'm afraid by the time you're 20, you'll be in a wheelchair from the arthritis. Well, that never crossed my mind again. That wasn't going to happen. So he also said that, do you have any relatives or anybody in Florida you could go stay with, or somewhere where the sun is real bright, real hot? And I said, I have an aunt and uncle live in Miami. And I went down there for about 7 or 8 months. He said, there's nothing in this world with better healing power than the sun. And so every afternoon, I'd lay flat on a blanket. I'd real easily take that back brace off and lay face down and let the sun. And it was amazing. All the bruises went away. I had every color in the rainbow you could think of, bruise. The black, the brown, the yellow, the green, the red. The burns healed. I don't have any scars on my back at all from the burns. I still have the scar under my right shoulder blade from the arrow, of course, where they stitched it up. But I did that, and it's almost a year, and I knew I couldn't work anything like construction or anything like that. And I was working at Dana in Hagerstown at the time of the explosion, and I knew I couldn't go back to Dana and working on the cement and walking. So I went to Kessler's sporting goods shop. Cliff Dickman was an old family friend, and I said, Cliff, I need to work. I need a job. I need to do something. And he said, well, you can sell sporting goods, can't you? And I said, I can still talk for sure. So I did that for a while. And then, a little later, I worked 2 or 3 other jobs, selling stuff and nothing too heavy. But I had the opportunity to go to work for Mac McCann Sheriff here in Wayne County as the deputy sheriff, and later for John Cady when he was elected sheriff. And I worked that for several years, and then went to work at the phone company. And in between time, I started riding a lot again, riding horses, showing horses, rodeoing a little bit. Started back in, and it wasn't long till I was back doing everything I was doing before.
Yeah, that's amazing. When all of this happened and the second explosion happened, do you know about how long you were knocked out? Was it just seconds, minutes?
Oh, it had to be seconds. Yeah. Just as soon as the second, it would, like I say, it was just boom, boom. Second one was so great and so intense that I was blacked out. When we had 2 hearings in Connorsville that I got subpoenaed to, it involved the ATF, the Bureau of Mines, and the Army Corps. One gentleman that testified from the Bureau of Mines said that I had to be standing on the exact spot above the gunpowder that went off the initial explosion inside Marting's. And he said it forced me up, and he said it acted like a cone. It just parted everything in its way as I went up. Even though Greg and I were almost shoulder to shoulder, it sucked everything else to the basement. And that's where he ended up. But again, I suppose the pile of rubble was 14, 15 feet tall. I remember walking down off of.
And so that explosion happened at Vigrants in the basement, and it traveled underground to Marting Arms, where all of their ammunition and gunpowder was, and that was the second explosion.
Correct. Yes.
So after all of this happened, you're at Reed Hospital. Do you still know exactly what the explosions were caused from, or was it days, weeks later?
Yeah, it was the next day.
The next day?
Yeah. There was so much confusion. And, I had an idea, like we talked earlier. They were talking about demonstrators coming to Richmond because it was just right after the assassination of Martin Luther King. And so, rumors were flying that that's what happened. That some of them came downtown with a bomb, and that couldn't have been the furthest from the truth. But it was the next day before I learned that Greg was killed and what really had happened.
So we spoke on the phone a couple of days ago, and you had recommended a documentary for me to watch that IU East made, 147. And I watched it. Now, being a lifelong resident of Richmond, I've always heard about the explosions that happened. I might have seen a picture here and there, but watching that documentary, I mean, it was emotional to watch it. I learned a lot more looking at all of the images in that documentary. It was, it was really hard to wrap my mind around how tragic of an event that had happened right here in our hometown. And then I know you had said it was probably the worst tragic event that's happened in the state of Indiana as well.
It's one of them.
One of them.
Yeah. You had the Coliseum explosion in '63.
State Fairgrounds.
Fairgrounds. I think it killed 85 people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was by far the worst tragedy in Wayne County or surrounding area. Mm-hmm. If you look back in history, you'll see the Great Flood of '37 and some of that. But it's by far the greatest tragedy that's ever hit Wayne County or affected the residents of Wayne County and the surrounding area.
Mm-hmm. I kind of want to ask too, during all of this, who made a meaningful difference for you during that time when you were, from the first time you were at Reed Hospital to Winchester back to Reed, and then during the process of healing from your injuries?
Well, I've always been blessed with a lot of friends. And the weeks and months that I was in Reed, I had a lot of friends, a lot of visitors. I've got a close family. And but I would have to say it was my mom. I think you could describe her as strong-willed. She was a Christian lady. And she was like a cheerleader through that whole thing. Mm-hmm. And she kept telling me, even before that, her favorite saying was, if you look around, there's always somebody worse off. Well, that's what she would say most often, during the rough times and the times of the pain, when the pain was so great. And it was always, just suck it up. You'll be fine. She says, I have no doubt. But if you look around, there's so many people that has lost so much more. And you just need to get a little tougher.
Mm-hmm. What was it like after coming back when, after you checked yourself out 5.5 days later from Winchester? Did you drive down here to see the explosion?
I did. I probably didn't come downtown several weeks afterwards. It was all cleaned up. Mm-hmm. And I think the only reason I did that was because the doctor that fixed my back and was at the Medical Arts building down by the old Leland. I really didn't want to come downtown. So to make just an effort to come downtown for a reason, no. But my hope is, growing up here and seeing all that I got to see and witness and experience in downtown, like I say, in its glory days, when we started running around, got old enough to go out and date and stuff, and have your own cars and driver's license, we'd go from one end of Richmond to the other, just back and forth. And the storefronts were so well decorated, lit up, and even at 8, 9 o'clock at night, the sidewalks were packed. On the day of the explosion on Saturday afternoon, we had been out to Sears earlier. Greg's dad worked out at Sears, and we went to see if he wanted to go to lunch, and he'd already been to lunch, and he had a customer coming, and he said he couldn't, so we came down. Well, we noticed how packed downtown was, how many people were just walking on the sidewalks, and it could have been so much worse. The death toll could have been so much worse. It could have been triple. The State Theater was full of kids. They had a matinee that afternoon, and they got everybody out of there. And they said later in the evening, the West Wall collapsed.
Wow.
But when you look at the death toll, too, of 41, that's not really an accurate number. I know of at least a couple of people that committed suicide. One couldn't stand the loss. And then there was one guy that worked at the gas company, and he always felt that he could have done more to prevent it. In that hearing, they reported there were almost 60 reports of gas in this downtown area just that week prior to the explosion.
Oh, like the smell of gas?
Yes.
And did they just not come and check it out yet, or?
They checked it out, but did nothing. And it wasn't really the gas company's fault. They didn't have time to make a major repair, but, could they have done something? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So I know we were kind of talking earlier too about my generation, younger generations, they're forgetting about what happened that day, or they're not educated. They don't know about it. What's something that you hope that future generations of Richmond remember about that day?
Well, I think the main thing is to remember the loss of all the precious lives, mm-hmm. and all the suffering of the families that continue today. Greg's parents were never the same. We were so close. We spent so much time together. His mother, all she did was sit around and cry. And his dad hated the world. He couldn't figure out why. And it would be tough. Greg was valedictorian of his class. He was topping his class at Purdue. He was a very well-respected judge for horse shows. Just a super. As close as we were, he was more like a mentor to me. As we were growing up, he got his driver's license 2 years before I did. He never left me behind. We went everywhere. Like I say, we played Little League together. We rode horses together. We were in 4-H together, junior leaders, FFA. We attended a lot of different county events with the other county kids. And he was just a super person. And, everybody asks and nobody can answer why bad things happen to good people.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that you had presented to council last year in October, I believe, about the memorial for all of the victims. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, every time in the early 90s, I got transferred to Texas with my job. I worked for GTE here in town. And I came home often. This was my home. My kids were here. My grandkids were here. My mother was still living. My dad was still living at that time. And they had moved the memorial plaque to 5th and Main. And I never felt good about that. It was hard to read. It was in a bad spot. And it just got so it bothered me. And finally, I went and asked to speak in front of the council and Mayor Oler about, can we do something for the 41 to remember them and their families? Can we make a really nice plaque? And with this new building and this new construction, can we put it back at 6th and Main where it belongs? And I couldn't have been better received. Mayor Oler and the council was all in favor, and they've been very supportive.
Mm-hmm. And I know, Mayor, you have some information about a new plaque, and I want to give you an opportunity to kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, because of all that, well, recognizing and listening to 41 names is hugely important. So at the 50-year anniversary, that granite stone was created, and it sits at the Wayne County Historical Museum with some other artifacts. But right. You're right. We have this opportunity. So we met with the builders and owners, developers of 6 Main, the new apartments, Flaherty and Collins, and asked if we design a plaque, like a bronze plaque, could we put it on the front of the wall? And they said, most definitely. So working with you and a committee and some other council members, we came up with this plaque. And one of the things that's different from what was originally on the promenade, this will list all 41 names. And the reason I'm here, that Greg Harold Oler you keep talking about was my distant cousin.
Right.
Who I never really knew because I was just a little toddler at the time. Growing up, I knew his parents and I knew the rest of the family, of course. But I think it is hugely important to have these names. So a couple of weeks ago, council approved a donation fund in the mayor's office we were just going to buy this. We were just going to buy a plaque. And I had people come to me and says, we want to be part of this. And a way to be a part of it is if you want to help donate to the cost of it. It's being designed locally. It'll be built wherever they build these bronze plaques. It's quite large, like 40 by 24 inches. So once everything's together and done, we'll have a ceremony on the front of the building and get it installed. And we'll have a ceremony separate from when they actually open the building and have their grand opening and stuff. It's more of a solemn remembrance kind of thing. So we want to get it done this year. So that's what we're looking at. But this is just... Flaherty and Collins has been great to work with, the builders of the buildings developer, because they are totally on board with this. They'll have their crew install it on the brick once it's ready and just leave it there. And the great thing is we can put it basically where that front window of Marting's Arms was. We can put it right there on the brick that faces Main Street.
That's outstanding. It's right where it all took place. Yeah. And the bronze plaque, I've seen the markup of it looks great. And I'm really pleased. The one that's at 5th and Main there in front of the annex just gives me heartburn. You can't read it. It's almost disrespectful. And this is going to be a nice memorial for not only the families to see, but people that come to Richmond. And, what this new building's going to bring, and with the mayor's effort to bring back downtown, hopefully we have a lot of tourism, a lot of visitors.
That's the plan. All revitalize Richmond.
Revitalize downtown, bring the glory days back. Yes. But they'll be able to stop and see what actually took place 58 years ago. And I'm excited about it. I can't wait to get it installed and in its rightful place.
Right. I agree. I think it'll be a great thing to have that right there where the explosions happened. Sweet Blessings was the building that was standing left standing after the explosions next to Marting Arms.
The first building to survive to the east of all that. So, but I think the takeaway from all this is just the grit and resilience of our city. Everything you did to survive.
Yeah. And the volunteers that rushed.
Oh, yeah, the photographs, young men, everybody pitched in.
Just everybody. John Ross was a policeman a rookie policeman. We became very good friends. He actually came to see me when I was at Reed in Traction. And my wife's dad was in civil defense. And there were so many people that just picked up and came to see if they could help, like the old gentleman that took me to Reed. He never hesitated.
Yeah.
And took me and helped me inside. So it brought Richmond together to see what they were made of. And now we need to bring them together again and get downtown revitalized, get downtown going, and bring it back. Nothing would make me happier.
Right. I agree. Yeah, just to have Main Street back alive like it was, during that time of the explosion prior. And then I'm sure after it was still, further on east on Main Street was still alive, but
there were so many buildings condemned, and there were so many businesses shut down. And then people were afraid to come downtown after that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is that kind of when the downtown started dying or phasing out?
Yeah. From that minute at 1:47 on that Saturday is when downtown died, in my estimation.
Yeah. I would like to see everyone coming back down here. I mean, I've been really excited for Revitalize Richmond. And we do. We owe it to downtown. We owe to give life back into this area. So yeah, I'm just excited to see what happens. I'm excited about the plaque that's going to be going up. And I know anyone that's willing or wants to be a part of that and donate, they can contact the mayor's office.
Yes. And this video isn't about seeking money donations. It's getting the word out and getting your story on this podcast is hugely important.
It's
the resilience and survivorship, everything you went through, that's hugely important.
And just like that day, there were so many that wants to help. Once this gets out about this plaque, I think they'll want to donate to be a part of not only being able to present a beautiful plaque to honor the ones that lost their life, but maybe to be a part of bringing downtown back. Maybe that's their way of saying, here's the start. This is the starting point, this new building, this plaque on the site that ended it all.
And to be clear, there's stuff happening downtown now.
Oh, yes.
There's several restaurants and bakeries, and at least twice a week when the weather's nice now, we'll walk down here and have lunch and bring visitors and says, let's just walk down here and have lunch. Like, you have a restaurant downtown? Yes, we do. And more to come.
Yeah, I've been coming downtown to watch progress of the new building. That's pretty amazing. And
all that brick being laid brick by brick.
Brick by brick.
No shortcuts. This is going to be an amazing building.
It's going to be an amazing building, and it's brick like the old buildings too, and like the old downtown. But I'm excited. I'm excited for downtown Richmond. I'm excited for the residents of Richmond. Because it's sure gone through a rough 50 years. But there's, the mayor's office has got visions. great visions, and Mayor Oler is doing a fantastic job of trying to get it here and to get it started. And we've got it started. All we need to do now is to keep it rolling.
Right. Keep that momentum going.
Keep the momentum going, for sure.
So I really want people to watch that documentary. I'm really glad that you told me about it. I found it on YouTube. I can't remember the exact name of the title, but then also there's a book, Death on a Sunny Street, that you can read about the explosions too. But yes, I mean, all of the citizens in Richmond, I highly recommend watching that documentary and just seeing what happened and knowing all of the details and hearing everyone's story on that documentary.
Yeah, there's so many in that documentary telling their story of, how they helped and what they witnessed. And, like I said, there's so many false things out there, articles and stuff. Another one that I read said that you could feel the explosion for 2 miles. My mom and dad lived north and west of Fountain City, and it shook that old farmhouse so hard that the doors came open on her china cabinet and rattled the dishes in the cupboard.
Wow.
And that's what, 10, 12 miles away?
Yeah, 12 miles.
12 miles,
easy, yeah. So they, again, in that hearing, the 2 hearings that I participated in, they found papers with Marting's letterhead on it in northern Kentucky.
Oh my goodness.
They found golf balls still in the cylinders with Marting's name on it in Oxford. The explosion was so intense, it got stuff up in the jet stream.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing to learn. Like I said, I'm 39 years old. I've heard about the explosions. I might have seen a picture here and there, but to actually watch and kind of research a little bit more, I mean, it was eye-opening, that is a horrific, the most tragic event we've had in the city of Richmond.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
And just to learn everything about it. I mean, like I said, it was emotional to me. I kind of teared up a few times just hearing everyone's story, seeing the pictures of everyone coming together to help, but then also hearing the stories of firefighters and what they went through when they were going through the debris, and when they were finding bodies or finding parts. I mean, to me, it was just kind of like, wow, I can't believe all of that happened.
Yeah, like I said, when I came down off the pile of rubble, not only did I see just devastation everywhere, but there were body parts and stuff that nobody ought to see. And again, for those people to go through and recover the bodies, and it's just unbelievable, the effort that they gave. I still have nightmares from that day. They don't seem to come as often, but the nightmares still come. And I don't think you could go through something like that and not be changed, and to experience nightmares, and I'm a lot more claustrophobic than I used to be. So it's definitely changed me. But the one thing, again, like I said, my mother was such a cheerleader and such a strong-willed person, that it kept me strong, and I wasn't going to let that make me a victim. And it hasn't. I live every day to the fullest and plan on it. And I enjoy life. I've had a great life. I've done everything. I can't think of anything that after the first year and a half that the injuries have kept me from doing. Now I still have aches and pains just like everybody else. And now I'm getting old aches and pains, but in no way has it kept me from doing what I want to or what I, so the only thing is that there was a friendship there, that I probably can't talk about, but.
Yeah, it's very sad. And I'm sorry that happened.
Well, thank you.
I want to thank you so much for coming on and telling your story of being the sole survivor in that area during the explosions. And I really hope that the community, bands together and helps keep every victim in their memory, their families in their memory.
And again, not only the precious lives that were lost, but the families, the suffering. Mm-hmm. Greg's mom and dad died early of a broken heart. They're one of many that should be on that plaque because it actually took their life that day.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I just want everyone to know that your experience is an important part of Richmond's history. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you for asking. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for coming, Jack.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, that's Inside Richmond, the city's pulse. Make sure to join us next time.